can we blow up an asteroid like in Armageddon? Spoiler, no. Here's why. In Armageddon, NASA straps a nuke to an asteroid, sends Bruce Willis and his crew up there to drill a hole, detonates the bomb inside it, and boom, problem solved. The asteroid splits in half, both chunks miraculously miss Earth, and humanity cheers. Sounds awesome, but realistically, wouldn't work. Not like that. Not only does the movie get the science completely wrong, but detonating a nuclear bomb in space is an entirely different beast from what we see on Earth, so let's break it down.
The two halves are going to miss us by 400 miles, and most of the small particles have been vaporized.
Starting with, how do nuclear explosions work in space? Nuclear bombs on Earth cause destruction through three main effects. Firstly, you have the blast wave. This is the shock wave. So you've got the rapid expansion of compressed air responsible for most of the damage. Next, you have thermal radiation in the form of heat. So you get intense light and heat that ignites fires and causes burns. And then thirdly, you have ionizing radiation. So you get deadly gamma rays and X-rays that can kill living things and damage materials. But in space, things play out very differently. No atmosphere, no shock wave. Now on Earth, nuclear explosions generate a massive shock wave because air compresses and expands violently, carrying energy outward and leveling everything in its path. But like I said, in space, there's no air. No air, no atmosphere, no shock wave. No pressure wave to shatter an asteroid. So could a nuclear weapon actually blow up an asteroid? Probably not. Let's talk about what would actually happen in the two main scenarios. So scenario one, you have a surface detonation. That would be the most likely thing that we would be able to do. So if we detonated on the asteroid surface, what would happen is it would vaporize a thin outer layer of rock, and it might create a sort of jet effect that could push the asteroid slightly. But the asteroid itself would just remain mostly intact. It would get heated up a little bit, a bit of radiation would go through. If the asteroid is icy, then the radiation could interact with water molecules, which might cause it to break apart a bit. But if it's porous, then the radiation could just pass straight through. So really, the most likely effect is you would just get a little bit of a push. Scenario number two, deep underground detonation. What Armageddon tried. So in the movie, Bruce Willis and his team drill a hole, plant the nuke inside, and detonate it. Now, theoretically, an internal explosion could fracture the asteroid if it was already fragile. But most asteroids aren't solid rock. They're actually rubble piles, and they're held together by gravity. So what would actually happen is that blowing up an asteroid this way wouldn't make it go away. It would just turn it into a shotgun blast aimed at Earth. So instead of having one global extinction event, you end up with 100 smaller level explosions across the entire planet, which could still cause global devastation. So what's the real solution? NASA doesn't plan to blow up an asteroid because that's a terrible plan. Instead, what we focus on is things like deflection strategies. We've got kinetic impact, so this is like the DART mission, essentially slam a spacecraft into an object to nudge it off course. And this happened in 2022 and it was a success. A fun one to think about is the idea of a gravity tractor. So tractor is in tractor beam, not farm tractor. So a spaceship would travel alongside the asteroid, gently pulling it off course by the attractive force of gravity, or its small little gravitational pull. That would take years in order to make it work, so there's no guarantees with a gravity tractor. Another one is the idea of solar sails. So this is basically where using solar sails to redirect light to the surface of an asteroid, so you would heat up one side of the surface, kind of nudging it off course. This would require a long time to achieve anything, and you could only really do it on smaller asteroids. So could we Armageddon an asteroid? No. Even if we drilled down and tried to explode it from the inside, it's very unlikely that you're actually going to vaporize the asteroid itself, because explosions in space do not work the same way as they do on Earth in the presence of an atmosphere. So instead, what you're more likely to do is to break the asteroid apart and have a lot more pieces coming towards Earth. You could think about doing a nuclear detonation on the surface, but again, you're not going to get a guaranteed deflection because it really depends on what the asteroid is made of as to how the heat and the radiation from the explosion on the surface is going to interact with the material in the asteroid. If it's icy, you might get a little bit of a thrust that'll kick it or maybe nudge it slightly off course. If it's not, then you might actually just have the radiation pass right through the asteroid itself. And get no effect. So the best case scenario, kinetic impact. Actually throw a physical object at it that will knock it off its course. And that's what we're trying to do. So Armageddon, fun movie, but real planetary defense, way less dramatic. No nuclear weapons, and definitely a lot less oil drillers in space. Speaking of oil drillers in space, do we think it makes more sense to train astronauts to be able to drill in space or to train oil drillers to become astronauts? I'll let you decide the answer to that one. If you've enjoyed this video, then please do consider subscribing. And if you don't know, I also have a membership thing on Patreon and here, where I'm doing a reaction video every week to currently working on season 1 of Rick and Morty, and then we'll do a big old science breakdown at the end of the season. I can't remember what episode I'm on right now. Anywho, well, it also depends on when you watch this video. Thanks for watching.